Did you know the devil was represented as a clown? Oh yes. In medieval times, when they did these little morality plays, they always represented the devil as a clown, with a pale face and red rosy cheeks and a great smile. It's because they didn't take clowns very seriously. They took it to heart that the devil had no power over people. I suppose you could even say turning the devil into a clown is really quite a compliment. Other clowns give people so much pleasure. And don't you empathise with sad clowns? They're always down on their luck. And funny clowns are just comedians, jumping about and suddenly falling down. Some even do a bit of magic. Some dress up in rags, have such kind personalities, and can make any party a great occasion. They are safe, silly creatures who make some people laugh. I wonder, when did clowns start being sinister? I can't quite put my gloved finger on it. When did they go from being the happy character dancing and prancing about to monsters of imagination? Was it when that sad clown finally got tired of everyone laughing at his misfortune? Or was it a case of the audience becoming the clown and clowns started pointing at them, making fun of the audience in sneaky little ways? Like looking with disgust at the ungrateful brat crying for one more treat, or laughing at the woman who's got so many layers of makeup she actually looks like a clown. There's always one with those judgmental features. You know the type I'm talking about, the ones that have that unfortunate look like they've just swallowed a wasp. I've seen it over the years. Other clowns turning from purveyors of laughter and joy and now becoming something quite different. Perhaps the thing that made them who they are, white face, colourful paint, is becoming the reason for that tiny seed of fear to start growing like a garden weed. Don't you think it's obvious clowns are actually hiding something from you? All that makeup, all those wigs to cover their true faces, the baggy clothes and gloves and large shoes hide the rest of them. I bet you've wondered what clowns look like under the paint and costumes. Here's the thing, did you know that Emmett Kelly, who was the famous clown of the 1930s all the way through to the 50s, never appeared in public without his signature makeup? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was he just preserving the mystique, or was there something else he was hiding? Clowns could be anything under their clothes, under their painted faces. Pogo the clown was one of those clowns that striked terror. He entertained children and appeared at charity events, just like good clowns used to. But he wasn't a good clown, was he? He was quite a troubled clown. You might not know who he was, but Pogo, boys and girls, was John Wayne Gacy. He was a serial killer. He actually said a clown can get away with murder. Well, he did for a while, until he was caught. In the times when kings and queens ruled the world, the king kept a court jester around to entertain him. This jester would sing little songs, tell jokes and funny little stories, and dance and do cartwheels. They were much loved members of court and honoured. Now it seems some of our crowned heads are more clownish than we ever imagined them to be. Even William Shakespeare used the clown as a voice of reason, when all around him people were losing their heads. But do you want to know what I think? I think they had it right from the very beginning, when those medieval people would depict the devil as a clown. Clowns created pandemonium in front of the crowds, and no one noticed. They delighted crowds for sure, but there are those among you who could really see through the playful clowns I'm referring to, with those green wigs and silly white faces. And now I'm here. I consider myself to be totally miles away from clowns as you have known them to be. I'm not the same as anyone else or other clowns. There's those of you who look at me with fear. Perhaps this isn't a mask. You might squeeze your eyes shut until I go away, or you start screaming if I get too close. Have you ever wondered I might have clawed hands and cloven hooves and scaled skin under my clothes? One thing is definite, I am something hideous. I might even be the exaggerated image of you. Some of you do steer clear and run away from me, and that is a very wise thing to do. The rest of you will continue to see me however you want me to be. You see, laughter is just a close second cousin to a scream. And my smile is just a sneer. I'll let you into a little secret. The devil herself convulses when it watches my work. And even thousands of demon spiders and damaged spirits wait patiently in the shadows for my stories to be released. They look forward to be immersed in my horror imagination. They are addicted to my work, my horror medication. Oh, I just love being the clown. And from this moment on, I will always have the starring role in your pleasant dreams and in those bad dreams you're going to have. Everyone likes to imagine evil as being some terrifying monster with sharp teeth, red eyes and claws as large as a child's entire body. But what if evil was something as inconspicuous as children's entertainment? Well, here's an account from when I was around 6. So I live in a tiny part of Texas and I was having a birthday party. Now my friends and I were all hanging out at Nick's place, running around the yard. You see, he had a playground in the backyard and that included a swing, slides and a pole to slide down. But of course the most coveted of these was the jungle gym. Everyone loved that damn jungle gym. So I remember I was waiting a long time to get my turn. But I swear when I looked around because I was so bored, I saw something just beyond our backyard. Actually, it wasn't a something, it was rather someone. He was wearing a red afro, pale face paint and a smile. His eyes were covered in blue paint and the outfit he was wearing was red and white, striped horizontally. He wore white gloves and large red boots. He waved at me with a friendly looking smile. I waved back nervously, but when I blinked he vanished. And then it was my turn to operate the jungle gym, so I forgot all about it. A few hours later we were all called inside, time for cake and presents. As I was running in, I saw the clown again. This time he was on the playground. He waved at me and when I blinked he vanished again. I got inside and I saw the cake and for a moment I saw a clown figure on the cake. I looked at the clown figure on the cake and I was a bit confused, but immediately it vanished as I blinked. I kept eating my cake and eventually the time for presents came, but before presents could come, the adults told us we had a guest. We got Joggy the clown to celebrate with us. Come on in, Joggy. The kids were excited, but my friend Sam looked at me confused. It was that moment in which we could both tell that things weren't quite right. You saw him too, didn't you? Sam asked. I nodded. I looked back to Joggy and he waved. He was silent and pulled a balloon from thin air. Now this isn't impressive out of context, But as he's already shown rather creepy behaviour, or even just me hallucinating or something like that, I wouldn't be shocked if he literally pulled the balloon from thin air. Afterward, he made a balloon giraffe and gave it to a kid, nothing sinister. And then he pulled out another balloon and made a cat, and he gave that to another kid. He kept making repeated balloon animals, giving one to every kid in the room. The one I got, however, it was a human, but it had a rope around its neck. I was confused as to what it was because I was just a kid at the time. Then a few seconds later I blinked and the rope simply vanished. I was just left with a balloon man. I wondered to myself if I was just hallucinating or if this was actually a noose that vanished. Then again, I didn't find much disturbing about it because I had no idea what hanging or nooses were. All I know is that I looked up and saw the clown. For a split second I saw blood on the wall. Then I noticed the massive bloody hole in the middle of the clown's forehead. I remember I covered my face and my parents asked me what was wrong. I didn't know what it was, but I instinctively knew it was something bad. The clown was doing light-hearted stunts and I couldn't stop looking at it. I was appalled. The party was over and nothing really happened, just regular festivities. It was after the party things got interesting. See, I was sleeping in my house and I looked out of the window. That damn clown. He was looking from my backyard into the window. How he got there or how he even knew where I was is completely unknown. I stumbled back in shock, only I turned around and he was right behind me. I turned back to the window and he was gone. I looked toward where he was now and he waved. I tried to scream but nothing came out. I blinked and then we were both outside. I tried to run away but I fell. I looked down to find my shoelaces were tied together. I was then wondering why I even had shoes in the first place. I tried to get myself up only to realise I was in a straitjacket. A few seconds earlier I know I didn't have a straitjacket or nor did I have shoes on, never mind tied together shoes. The clown clapped silently. He puts his arm out taunting me. I looked down only for the straitjacket to disappear. I looked up and his teeth were sharp. His eyes black vortexes. I could stare into them for hours. I woke up in my bed right after that. I saw my older brother. He was a nice kid, although very protective. "Hey man, you look like you've seen a ghost. Have you had a nightmare?" I nodded and told him everything. Damn, that's some creepy stuff right there. He then got up and started to leave my room. Then he turned around and I swear his face was wearing the same paint as that clown. My brother winked at me before leaving. To this day I haven't been attacked quite like I have been back then, if you can even call that an attack. And now I'm an adult with a kid of my own, and he tells me of recurring nightmares involving a clown. On a dark winter evening I was rushing home from school. I lived in the countryside and had to go pretty far from the bus station. When I was walking home I remembered that I had some candy left in my right pocket. I took it out and could see that it was a little red and white candy cane. For one particular reason it reminded me of that eerie clown from my friend's birthday party. Chills ran down my spine. Although my dad had told me not to be afraid of clowns, he said there's no reason for me to be afraid now, I thought, while I was walking home, alone and in total darkness. I tried not to think about the clown, but I couldn't forget him anymore because this clown was living somewhere in my town. But I didn't know where exactly. A random encounter with the clown was possible. Everyone said he was always wearing his clown outfit and never took it off. He also had a clown mask and no one knew who he really was. But most people liked the positive vibes of the cheerful clown, so people thought nothing of it, although he seemed a bit weird at times. Unlike everyone else, I despised that clown. He was so over the top that it made me sick. I was thinking about that particular reason why the candy cane had reminded me of him. I had taken it from the clown when we were celebrating my friend's birthday party. and I regretted taking it off him. What if he was still angry with me? What would he do to people that offended him? I once heard a strange rumour of a kid who had kicked him. The clown had visited this kid at night. He had been knocking on the window until the kid yelled out to his parents and they called the police. Once the police had arrived, the clown was already gone, and no one really knew if it really had been him. Only the kid had seen him, and the kid's parents had barely heard the frightening knocking on the window. After that event, the kids started to spread the rumours, but no one really believed such a crazy story. Except me. I believed him for sure. My sixth sense started tingling. The kid was at home with his parents, but I wasn't. I was completely alone on this dark road. I started to walk faster and kept looking over my shoulder because I was certain someone was following me. Then I stopped and looked around me, but no one was there. Suddenly I heard the rustle of old dry leaves. I stared in that direction until I saw that something was really moving there. I started to run. Then I looked back at the same spot, and to my relief it was just an ordinary bird reaching for the sky. After this I caught my breath and continued on my way home, but my nerves were on edge. I unwrapped the candy cane and put it in my mouth, and my hope was that it would just calm me. But the candy cane was far too sweet. It was too much, just as clowns are. I spat out the candy cane and inhaled the cold winter air. That seemed to help more. The first house of my town started to appear in the distance, and I could see a street lamp above the house, and it looked really eerie. As I walked under this lamp, it suddenly started to flicker, just as in horror movies. It made me jump and take a few steps back. With a wide curve, I walked around this house until more buildings appeared. I came across another house which had two massive dogs lying outside. They were sleeping, but as I walked past the dogs, they suddenly woke up and ran to the fence while barking loudly. They scared me so much that I lost my balance and fell backwards. I sat there for a few seconds, looking at the dogs barking angrily at me. Then I regained my footing and shook it off, and after that I just started to walk away from the dogs. A few steps later I looked back at them and could see that they were retreating into their sleeping position. Finally I was able to see my house in the distance. Also, the street had a better illumination here, and this illogical fear I had just left me and my thoughts. I could see the light on in a window, and I figured out that my dad was already home. The key to the front door was in my back pocket, and I pulled it out while running to the entrance. I put my key in the keyhole and twisted open the screeching door. The smell of my sweet home reached my nostrils. But then I saw something which immediately made my fear come back. Strange shoes were left across the hallway. They were clown shoes. There was also something red which looked like blood. I didn't know what to do. Should I just run or stay and look for my dad? After pondering for a few seconds, I decided to look for my dad. I looked in the living room first and then in the kitchen, but they were empty. No dad. All the rooms upstairs were empty too. Then I suddenly remembered that we had an attic in which no one was allowed to go in. Usually it was locked with a big sturdy padlock, but this time the padlock that used to hang from the ceiling was lying on the floor, and the attic door was wide open. Somehow I felt that my dad was up there. I overcame my fear and went through the door. The sight I saw was simply pure terror. There was a human head on the floor, blood flowing from its neck. In the candlelight I could see almost the whole attic floor was red from all the blood. It was thick and slippery, and I could smell the putrid, metallic scent. You probably think that this head was my dad's, but it wasn't. It was the head of the little kid who had spread the rumours about the clown. Deeper in the dark of the attic I could see a silhouette. Oh my God, it was the clown. From the sounds I could hear, I understood that he was busy with splitting the rest of the kid's body. I could hear the cracking and popping of bones and guts hitting the floor. It made me throw up. I was completely petrified out of fear and couldn't move. The killer clown noticed my arrival and turned around. He looked straight into my eyes. I couldn't move, and I couldn't look away either. He still had his clown mask on, but there was something in his eyes that seemed very familiar. The clown came closer and closer until he leaned over me and whispered in my ear, "I should have told you earlier that you shouldn't be rude to clowns. They are human beings too. After all, I know that you still remember your friend's birthday party. Was that candy cane you stole from me taste good? I hope it was, because that might have been your last. Now I'm gonna teach you a lesson of what happens to naughty kids, son." The clown took off his mask and I was looking at my dad's face.